What's going on? Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Schneid. We had a bit of a day today, didn't we? A little bit of an early free agency kind of day. So, who Hames? What's up, fam? What's happening? Steven Hines. Good day. Hope the weekend was great. So far, so good. Putt Daddy, what's up? What's happening? Steelers DK. We'll obviously get into that. Ben Haskell, what's up? What's going on, guys? We got Green Bean. How you doing? Omega King, what's up, guys? What's happening? The influx. I'm sure everybody's coming over from PPR. Just wrapped up. PPR Tyler. God keeps sending the Steelers wide receiver coach his toughest battles, no doubt. Let's get into this stuff. Obviously, let's jump in. So, I'm gonna have a big stream tomorrow, where free agency, well, the early tampering period technically starts, but that's free agency more or less. The big deals are going to get done. The big signings are going to happen. They're probably already literally done as soon as they can announce them. I'm sure they will. So it should be a whirlwind tomorrow. So it's going to be a big show tomorrow. There's going to be some guests coming in, some familiar faces. So it should be pretty fun. So check that out tomorrow, but we'll get that rolling a little later on. We need one of these. What a day. What a day. So let's get the pour going. And then we're going to take a look at all the deals today. We're going to break it down a little bit one by one, talk about some future potential deals, what I kind of see on the horizon. So let's dig into it. Let's pop up. This is Spot Track. So we're just going to look through the deals, talk through it. Jake Matthews gets an extension from the Atlanta Falcons. If you're looking for a left tackle, get yours done. Obviously, Ronnie Stanley, Jake Matthews, Elric Jackson from the Rams, couple others. If you need a left tackle, sign your own, or hopefully you can get one in free agency. But I don't even know who's out there and available in free agency right now, because there's not many in the draft. So Jake Matthews gets an extension, makes sense. DK Metcalf wants to go somewhere warm. How's Pittsburgh sound? Pittsburgh's obviously not warm weather. Wanted to go to a contender. Pittsburgh is certainly a contender, but wanted warm weather. We can give you one of the two, DK. So he goes to the contender, signs a new deal. 4-year 132. I thought it was a 5-year 150, but either way, he goes to the Steelers for a second-round pick, which is pretty reasonable compensation for DK. If you look at what Seattle's doing, they're clearly going to try to rebuild a little bit. It's an interesting get for me for the Steelers. They kind of already have DK Metcalf at home, but I mean, it's going to get really interesting. We'll dig into that in a second. Let's just blow through what we'll do. We'll do deeper dive. Let's blow through who signed what. Ernest Jones comes back after surgery to the Seattle Seahawks, so he fills a need. He played really well. Marquise Bell, I didn't see that one, but he comes back with the Cowboys. Jared Stidham, backup quarterback with the Broncos. Cool. Josh Allen probably clears a little more cap space for them. And he's now the highest paid quarterback in the league. He's the MVP. He deserves it. Good for him. Jamin Sherwood, linebacker, inside linebacker for the Jets, gets a big deal. That's a lot of money, $15 million a season basically for Jamin Sherwood. That's interesting. They obviously believe in him. Harold Landry, that's a pretty big move for the New England Patriots. That's a good get for them. That's going to help out their defense. Obviously, Devontae Adams, another one of the huge names. That's the bigger news than DK for sure. Obviously, it locks in. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be Devontae Adams, quarterback for the last 2 years of his career, unless he continues to play. I think he'll probably finish his career with the Rams. Cody Ford comes back to my Bengals. Good depth offensive lineman. That's a good signing. Aaron Jones, we expected this. I didn't quite think he would get $10 million a season. I'm not exactly sure what was guaranteed in that deal. But he comes back to the Vikings. That was expected. Good signing for them. Zadarius Smith, that was a little bit surprising. So again, creates more of a need opposite Aiden Hutchinson with the Detroit Lions. I didn't think that the Chiefs would be able to get this kind of money to Nick Bolton. So he comes back with the Chiefs. Good, very good get for them. Bring back. So they're obviously taking care of their own. Trey Smith Nick Bolton comes back. Jaron Reed comes back to the Seahawks. That's a good get for them. Fills a hole. Baron Browning, same thing with the Arizona Cardinals, pass rusher. And then Myles Garrett, after demanding a trade, then comes in and signs the biggest deal in NFL history outside of a quarterback to stay with the Browns. So that was an interesting one. That's huge money. And Cleveland does it again. Cleveland just fucks over the rest of the NFL again. Like Max Crosby signs a massive deal, highest paid player besides a quarterback, right? $35.5 million. Let's add $4.5 million per season to Myles Garrett. Like, what are you doing? 38 could have got it done. You know what I mean? 37 could have got it done. Like now, Micah Parsons just licking his chops, right? Can't wait to sign his deal. So the Browns go ahead and do it again and just give an unnecessary deal. So I'm sure the owners are very ecstatic with good old Jimmy Haslam over there, but whatever. Von Miller gets released. That's nothing. Derek Carr is going to be the quarterback in New Orleans now. They converted a whole ton of money. So this is what I always say. This is what you can do when you think or you have your quarterback. This is what the Cowboys just did. This is what obviously the Saints just did with Dak Prescott, Derek Carr. Get your owner to get out his pen, write a fat check, convert it to a signing bonus. Boom, kick some void years, and then you can extend that. It still hits your cap. Don't get me wrong, but you can extend it through the void years, and that's how you can create some space. You do end up kicking it down the road and being in salary cap hell, which, this doesn't exactly help the New Orleans Saints. They're just perpetually doing this, but whatever. It is what it is, and Dallas doesn't like to do that, but they just did with Dak Prescott, so there you go. Tommy Tremble comes back with the Carolina Panthers. So if you've been drafting Jatavian Sanders, that's not really music to your ears. That's for sure. He's more of a blocking tight end. Don't get me wrong, but he does catch some passes and he is going to take away from Jatavian Sanders a little bit. So I'm going to ease off on drafting JT Sanders at the end of drafts because of this. They bring back Austin Corbett, Kader Kohu. Yeah, sure. Slot corner, nickel corner. That's a good signing for them. Austin Corbett, they bring back their center, just a stopgap, fill the hole for this season. Chris Manners, blocking tight end, punter, cool. Ronnie Stanley, like I said, if you have a free agent left tackle, you better sign him because you're not getting one in free agency or the draft. Zach Ertz comes back. We all knew that was going to happen. Marcus Davenport, again, stopgap. They still have a need there. Hollywood Brown, what I said was it's either going to be Hollywood Brown or Nuke Hopkins. One of them is going to re-sign in a cheap deal with the Chiefs. It looks like Hollywood Brown, which makes more sense. There you go. Mike Gesicki, I've been saying it all along. He will be back with the Cincinnati Bengals. Here we go. Decent money, pretty good money for him. Gregory Rousseau, Buffalo just signed a whole bunch of their own players, so they're clearing up some space, getting guys done. Good deals, good for them. Gus Edwards, he's cut as, again, something I predicted. I'm going to pull up my spreadsheets after this, and we'll go over it. Geno Smith traded to Vegas from Seattle. We called that one. By we, I mean me, but we called that on stream a couple days ago. The day before that trade went down, we talked about this exact scenario happening, and then there it goes. And that's as far as we'll go. So that's all the news that we basically got in the last day and a half. Definitely easy to miss some stuff. So yeah, hopefully that catches up everybody. There's some stuff that even slipped through my fingers. The Marquise Bell I didn't know about. That was about it, but that was about it that slipped through my fingers. But either way, yeah, easy to miss stuff. That's for sure. Bengals got fucked today with DK and Miles deals, raising the prices of T and Trey. Absolutely. I've been saying for a while now that I think T Higgins has been waiting, or T Higgins and DK have been waiting for one of them to sign a deal. I really do believe that they're going to be mirror images of each other. So now T Higgins can ask for $30 million at least, and I'm sure he will. And I don't want to pay him that personally. As a Bengals fan, I don't want to pay T Higgins $30 million to be my wide receiver too. Though that might be reasonable money, it's just the problem with it is obviously the Jamar Chase deal is going to be now what, $42 million? I don't know. Like what do we sign Jamar Chase to? I'm not even sure what the market for Jamar Chase is right now. considering the Max Crosby and obviously the Myles Garrett news. Like, yeah, you got to look at Justin Jefferson, obviously, but you're going to have to throw probably $4 million on top of that. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what the market is. So T Higgins is kind of out for me. For the Bengals, I'm going to still be looking to trade him. Hopefully the Patriots are more desperate than ever to get a wide receiver, and they're willing to pony up like a second round pick. You know what I mean? Same sort of thing. That's what DK just got. So a second round pick for T Higgins to the Patriots, so they can do that deal for $30 million. I'm about that life. Let's get that going. So we'll see. Garrett commented that. Not sure what we're doing here. I guess playing on a contender wasn't quite as important. Yeah, looks like money was all that really mattered to Myles Garrett. Hey, that's funny how that works. Arthur Smith's trying to clear out those rushing lanes for sure. Running lanes and someone over the middle. So let's dig into all of this stuff. Right now. Think Trey actually gets a deal or gets traded. Trey Hendrickson, I think he probably ends up coming back to the Bengals. Given his age, he's 31, I believe. So that's a little bit on the older side. They're not going to be as likely to give up a bunch and give him a long-term contract. So I genuinely think that they're going to go try to find a trade. No one's going to give up enough compensation for the Bengals, and the Bengals are going to rework a deal and give him a raise for a couple years, probably a 2-year deal, 2-year extension, till he's 33, something like that, but give him good money, give him a raise. And I think he's going to end up staying with the Bengals because I think this T Higgins money is not going to be there. There's no way they're going to be able to pay Jamar Chase what they now have to pay him and then give T Higgins $30 million a year, because that's absolutely what he's going to ask for. And to be honest, now the market says that's what he's worth, right? I've been saying for a long time, the DK Metcalf deal or the T Higgins deal, whatever, is going to directly affect the other wide receiver, the other player. So now that we know DK Metcalf is getting $30 million, T Higgins is going to get $30 million. And I don't think it's going to be from the Bengals. But that also means that the Bengals should get a second round pick in return for T Higgins. So there we go. So I think that frees up a little bit of money for Trey Hendrickson. He ultimately stays with the Bengals. At least that's kind of what I hope, and that's what I feel. That's what I think is going to happen. We'll see. Appreciate that. Hopefully everybody's caught up. If you missed anything, the Charger, maybe. I don't think so. I think I said the same thing about DK Metcalf. I don't think the Chargers are a landing spot for anybody. I really don't. I think they're going to maybe look to the draft most likely, but I don't think they're going to give up that kind of compensation for T Higgins or DK Metcalf. So I would imagine DK, the Chargers were his first choice sort of thing. I'm sure they tried to make that deal, make that call, but I just don't think the Chargers are in that business. So I don't think T Higgins is going to the Chargers. I think the Patriots make the most sense. It would have to probably be a second round pick in 2025, but we'll see. I don't think that they're in that market. I don't think the Chargers want to send a second round pick for a wide receiver right now. So let's dig into the spreadsheets. Yeah. Hey, I'm a Bengals fan, man. So same. Let's dig into the spreadsheet here. So we're going to take a peek at some updated information that we've got. So these are the needs that I have. I showed this a couple weeks ago. So these are the needs for every team, and now they've done some things. Obviously, the Bills, brought back Russo, so they still kind of have a need. That's how this reads, but they did address it. So edge for the Patriots, they signed Landry. Left tackle no longer with Ronnie Stanley coming back for the Ravens. Pittsburgh definitely don't need a wide receiver anymore with DK coming in. Mike Gesicki here for the Bengals. Right. So that's kind of how this reads. The Texans are probably okay at wide receiver now. We'll see. I expect them to probably address it somewhere, but it's not a huge need anymore. So that's how that reads. Looking at the free agent list now. Obviously the red is everyone that's been snapped up. So T Higgins is not going to be a free agent. We know that. I do expect him to be available now that the market is fully set for what it's going to cost for T. Higgins. It's going to cost the team that trades for him $30 million a season, and it's going to cost him a second round pick. That's what it is, which sounds good to me as a Bengals fan, honestly. Aaron Jones is off the market. He's back with the Vikings. T. Higgins, like I said, going to be tagged, or he is tagged. Hollywood Brown goes back to the Chiefs. Tutu Atwell goes back to the Rams. So if we're looking at free agent, obviously Austin Hooper went back to the Patriots. I don't know if anyone knew that, but Mike Gesicki goes back to the Bengals. Zach Ertz obviously back with the Commanders. So let's look at the free agent list as it sits now. A couple missing on here. Aaron Rodgers is missing, and Gardner Minshew is missing from the quarterbacks, but we will talk about those two players. So Jacoby Brissett's still there, solid vet. Same thing with Jameis Winston, solid vet, but a backup quarterback. You know what you're going to get. Russell Wilson, we'll talk about that in a second. Justin Fields, we'll obviously address him. Mac Jones is out there, young enough that he could maybe be your guy or be a stopgap, right? We'll get into him in a second. Trey Lance, former 3rd overall pick, 25 years old. Maybe he's somebody's future. I don't know, but he's still available. Sam Darnold is definitely I would say the biggest name, given his age and the season he had last year and his experience in starting NFL games. I think that he's going to be kind of the number one target, obviously, as we get into tomorrow. But I expect that to be announced pretty quickly tomorrow morning. And then Daniel Jones. So we'll get into the quarterbacks for sure. But as far as running backs are concerned, we've got Najee Harris, basically, and a bunch of other guys. Like J.K. Dobbins, I expect him to be on a team, but at what sort of dollar, right? Aaron Jones just got $10 million. I don't think, I think Najee might get 10 now, but I really don't think Javonte, J.K. Dobbins, Rico Dowdle, I don't think they're getting that kind of money. I'm very confident they're going to ask for it, but I just don't think that they're going to be able to have enough of a market to make that happen. Let's talk about the two tight ends quickly, Tyler Conklin and Juwan Johnson. That's all that's left realistically as far as, free agent tight ends. Michael Mayer could probably be had in a trade, but at what are they willing to, he was a second round pick. So what are they willing to take in a trade for Michael Mayer? Like a 4th? Does someone want to give that up? A 5th? Would they go that low? I don't know. But Conklin and Juwan Johnson are the two that are still available. We got Amari Cooper, a little old and dusted in my opinion. Matt Collins, whatever. I think Elijah Moore is actually probably tops on the list. Again, given his age, he's only 25 years old and he's going into his 5th season. So there's still tons of tread on the tires with Elijah Moore. So he might be the number one free agent wide receiver that's out there right now. Him or maybe Josh Palmer. Again, 26 years old. He's a veteran. He's been in the league for a while. He's a professional wide receiver. So he might be up there as well. Darius Slayton, that's another guy. Diami Brown, if you like him, if you believe in him, he's had a lot of run and hasn't exactly taken that step, if I'm being honest. So is he on people's list? Maybe. But you see the list here. Chris Godwin, a lot of talks. I think it's likely he goes back to the Bucs. Demarcus Robinson, he's never missed the playoffs in his career. So where does he go? We'll see. If I was to say, who's the most talented wide receiver available, it's Keenan Allen. Oh, sorry, it's Chris Godwin, and then Keenan Allen. As far as just talent, can get your team over the edge, that sort of thing. Those are the two that are available. Then it's the guys like Elijah Moore, Josh Palmer, Darius Slayton, and then, Nuke Hopkins is still on the market. He's still available. Same thing with Amari Cooper, but how much do those guys have left? The keep trade cut list that we made, Aaron Rodgers, we kind of called that one. He's gone. He's available right now for anyone. So we'll get into that in a second. Deshaun Watson, he's just a salary cap destroyer. You can't do anything with him. What I would have done is just eaten it. They basically cut a check. Same thing they did with Dak and with Derek Carr. The same thing. They just cut a check to him and then kicked it down the road, which is why would you do that? Why would you? That's true. Stephon Diggs is still available too. Put him on the same list as Nuke Hopkins and Amari Cooper. For me, I'm not a big believer in Diggs at this point of his career personally. But again, with Watson, just eat it, eat the dead cap, and clear it as quick as you can. Instead, they cut a check, converted to a signing bonus, added some void years, kicked it down the road. I don't think that that's what they should have done. Obviously, they're trying to be a playoff team. They're trying to be a contender with Myles Garrett, but I don't know. I just would have eaten the cap, eaten the dead cap, cut a check. Well, they're cutting a check regardless, but not kicked it down the road. That's what I would have done. Just eat it now, and then hopefully you can be a contender in 2 years, sort of a thing. But whatever. I digress. Kirk Cousins is still, I think, available in a trade, and I have a scenario which we've talked about before. We'll talk about it again in a second. But Kirk Cousins could be made available in a trade for sure. Post June 1 designation is what that would be. Obviously, look at the numbers here. It has to be post June 1 a designated post June 1 trade, which is easy to do. And I'm sure that's what they would do. Gus Edwards and Jamal Williams, we talked about both of them. They're both now cut, free agents. Not a huge market for either of those guys, in my opinion. Devontae Adams, we talked about that. He was cut. He's now with the Rams. There we go. Allen Lazard is looking for a team to give up a bag of nice, shiny, lacquered up footballs, but no one's going to trade for Allen Lazard, so he'll be cut soon too, probably post June 1, but we'll see where it lands. He's not going to be on the Jets. There's just no way. Romeo Doubs, I think, could still be released realistically. I'm sure they would like to trade him, given him asking for a trade and then obviously the concussion issues. So I'm sure they would have rather replaced him already with a wide receiver, but that's not looking like it's going to happen unless it's T. Higgins, but we'll see. Ray-Ray McLeod, possible, but less likely now that it's gotten this far. Adam Thielen, I mean, again, less likely that it's gotten this far. I thought that would be like a mutual decision, and he would go to a contender, maybe a team like the Chiefs instead of like a Hollywood Brown, or maybe the Bills, something like that. I think would make some sense, but we'll see. Rashid Shaheed, again, less likely, but still possible. I don't know how Cedric Wilson is still on this team, but looks like he is. That's mystery to me. Cooper Kupp, he's gone. They're basically calling their bluff. No one's trading for Cooper Kupp. They would like to save that extra $5 million, but it looks like the rest of the league is just calling their bluff. Maybe we'll toss you a 6th-round pick, 7th-round pick, but nobody's willing to do it. Or like a 6-7 swap that we've seen a lot. But no, it looks like they're just saying, go ahead and cut him, and we'll take our chances on the open market. So I think he's going to end up just getting cut. Debo obviously traded to the Commanders, which is a huge deal. Tyler Lockett's been cut, which we talked about as well, saved $17 million. So there's your wide receivers. Evan Ingram, called that, cut, makes sense. I'm sure it's a post-June 1 designation. It's obviously, almost $10 million, and then another 6.5 combined in the 26 and 27 void years. So I would imagine it's a post-June 1 designation. Kyle Pitts is still on the trade market with 0 dead cap if they trade him, but I don't think they're going to get the compensation that they're after. So we'll see. As far as I know, Taysom Hill hasn't been cut. I know that they were talking about it, and it makes tons of sense. So I don't know what's going on there. I thought it was done, but I don't think it is. So we'll see. Foster Moreau, same thing. I think he's going to be cut. $700,000 to dead cap. They still have to cut some cap before March 12th. So before Wednesday, they got to cut. I think it was like $5 or $6 million. So these two deals would get them well below, and they're laughing. So that Derek Carr conversion freed up a lot of cap for them. Deep sleepers, I don't think we really need to look at this, but we talked about this a few weeks ago. Brenton Strange and Parker Washington, if they trade or cut Ingram, if they trade or cut Christian Kirk, both things happen. So they're obviously a decent value now. Don't really need to look into this unless you guys want to, but we'll kind of scroll past that. The top landing spots, obviously the Raiders filled their need with Geno Smith. There's still a bunch of teams which we'll get into. Running backs, nothing's changed. I guess the Vikings, we can put that kind of yellow, but I still think a rookie running back coming into Minnesota is going to pose a lot of threat to an Aaron Jones, especially at his age, has a tough time staying healthy sometimes. So yeah, I'm definitely looking at any rookie running back that goes into Minnesota. I'm still drafting them as kind of that handcuff after the draft, after we know who's in there. For wide receivers, I put Cincinnati in red, and unless they trade T. Higgins, that's going to have to happen before it becomes a solid landing spot for a wide receiver. So until that's announced and done, we'll see. I might switch that up, but as of right now, it's not exactly a great landing spot. Buffalo's still a good landing spot. Houston, less so with Christian Kirk, obviously. Kansas City, not really. With the Xavier Worthy news, we didn't even talk about that. That's some huge news. I don't think there's anything to see there. It looks like it was just some crazy ex-girlfriend situation. It's kind of what it looked like to me, or what it sounded like to me. So he's sounds like he's off the hook, and shouldn't be anything to see here. So he's going to be fine, it looks like. And then Rashee Rice after his suspension, and then Hollywood Brown comes back. So still room for someone, but it's not as appealing as it once was. Obviously, Debo coming in hurts the Commanders. Luke McCaffrey's there as well. They'll probably draft, but it's less so. The Rams are off the board completely. And this kind of absolutely kills Jordan Whittington's value. So if you've been drafting him a lot as he rose up, sorry about it. Like, that kind of hurts. I think I'm at like 7% personally. So I'm happy that I kind of shied away as he rose up the board. For tight ends, Mike Gesicki, Ertz are back. So there's still a couple good landing spots for tight end in either free agency or the draft, but we only have, 2 free agent tight ends realistically that can do some damage. So there's going to be minimum 3 very solid landing spots for one of these rookie tight ends. And there's a lot of good ones, as we know. So some free agent fits. Let's take a look at the chat first, and then we'll dig into this a little bit. Jones is only running back on the roster, I believe. No, Ty Chandler's there. Yeah, Ty Chandler's still there. Not that that's anything to be too concerned about or, write home about. I liked Ty Chandler a lot at one point, but he just doesn't look like he's going to be that guy. So forgot about him. Yeah, I like how the Vikings completely, ruled him out as well. So let's talk about some potential landing spots. So I'm now with DK gone. You guys know how much I love Kyle Williams. Washington State product, local kid. I think it would make a lot of sense. He would be that Z wide receiver, that basically Tyler Lockett fill in is the way I would kind of look at it. So that, fits nicely. Local product. That's kind of what I'm going after. He would fit in that like 3rd round, most likely. I think it would make a ton of sense for Seattle to just look for some homegrown talent. Who was it? Abraham Lucas was a Washington State product as well. So I think it would make a lot of sense to just keep a guy at home, draft him there, keep him there, plug him into your lineup, and there you go. So Kyle Williams to the Seahawks in the draft, I think, is relatively likely. Next on the list, we got Mac Jones to the Tennessee Titans. I think this makes a lot of sense. Makes sense for Brian Callahan's offense. He was pretty mediocre in 2 starts against Tennessee last year when he was the starter for the Jags, but he won both games. He was 2-0 against them last season. He's the, free agent wise, he's not going to cost you a lot of money, and he's the perfect competition piece for Will Levis, in my opinion. I don't think they're going quarterback at first overall. I wouldn't, with Harold Landry leaving, sounds like Abdul Carter is going to be that guy. So bring in Mac Jones, who's, quite similar to a Mason Rudolph, but I would argue much more talented than Mason Rudolph. So between Will Levis and Mac Jones, just see what you have in those 2 guys. And then, Abdul Carter may take a little bit of time if he is injured. Hopefully he could just heal up from that and it's not going to affect him, but we'll see. And then you can potentially address quarterback next season if you have to, but that makes sense to me. Mac Jones to the Titans, perfect compliment. I think that makes a lot of sense. Sam Darnold to the Seahawks. So this is something that I talked about again when I called it on the stream the day before the trade happened, the Geno Smith trade. I was saying Sam Darnold to the Seahawks. So there's some connections here that would make sense. He was with Clint Kubiak with the 49ers when allegedly all they were saying is Sam Darnold is the best practice quarterback you've ever seen in your life. So that was kind of the narrative around Sam Darnold, is like, how has it not transferred to the field in the NFL? Because everything that we see in practice, he's that guy. So There's familiarity with Clint Kubiak, and I think that's what it's going to come down to for Sam Darnold. Obviously, there's some conversation about the Pittsburgh Steelers now, where that would make a lot of sense, and we'll dig into that a little bit more later. But I think it's going to come down to, for Sam Darnold, comfortability. That's why he went to Minnesota, because he was comfortable in that offense. He was comfortable with Kevin O'Connell. He's comfortable with Clint Kubiak. I think it can make a lot of sense. Similar contract to what Gino's going to do, a bunch younger. That's what I think, but we'll see. We'll dig into this a little bit more in a second. Najee Harris to the Giants. I think that makes tons of sense. He's a perfect complement to Tyrone Tracy. Brian Dable coached him at Alabama when he was a freshman. So I think that would make just a ton of sense. So Najee Harris to the Giants is my prediction, my call. Gardner Minshew to the Indianapolis Colts. He was there before, right? He was the backup to Anthony Richardson before. When Anthony Richardson got hurt his rookie season, Gardner Minshew came in that same offense, the same coaching staff, and almost led that team to the playoffs. So it's a better team now, realistically. Gardner Minshew is a fantastic option. Former team, reasonable results with Shane Steichen, right? Puts enough pressure on Anthony Richardson. I think that they want Anthony Richardson to be the starting quarterback, and maybe he will be, maybe he won't be, but you got to put some pressure on him. So bring in a former familiar face, knows the offense inside and out. He's played in it. He's had success in it. He's led your team. I think Gardner Minshew to the Colts just makes tons of sense. It's a perfect, matchup or rematch, if you will. Jackson Dart to the Jets. That's, what I thought before. I still think it would make a lot of sense. Rick Spielman is the link there. So Rick Spielman is not the general manager with the Jets, but he's like the general manager's right-hand man with the New York Jets. And I know that he likes Jackson Dart, might have to move up to the back of the first round, something like that, or the early second round, which they have the capital to do. So Jackson Dart might be the quarterback of the future to the Jets. We'll dig into that more in a second as well. Ertz to the Commanders. We called that. There it is. Gesicki to the Bengals. We called that. There it is. Daniel Jones. This is why I have Gardner Minshew going to the Colts, because I don't think Daniel Jones is leaving Minnesota, right? We know that Daniel Jones does not care about a contract he's going to get. You're not going to really entice him too much with money, I don't think. If he wanted money, he could have went to somewhere, at the end of last season when he was cut from the Giants. He could have played football at the end of last season. He could have been on the field, and he chose not to. He chose to take less money, less opportunity to go to Minnesota and join Kevin O'Connell. So why would he leave, right? If Sam Darnold's leaving and we still are not sure about J.J. McCarthy, why would Daniel Jones go anywhere? I think he stays at Minnesota, not because it's money. I don't think they're going to offer him more money than, say the Colts or some of these other franchises, but I think he just wants to be there, and he's going to stay, and he's going to be the backup, maybe bridge quarterback. Maybe J.J. McCarthy isn't ready. Maybe he gets out there a little bit. So that's how I'm looking at Daniel Jones. I think he's staying. Therefore, I think they turn their attention to Gardner Minshew. Kirk Cousins of the Jets. I still think that that's the trade. Again, Rick Spielman is the link here. So Rick Spielman was the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings, signed Kirk Cousins to deal after deal with the Minnesota Vikings, right? Gave him a lot of money. Aaron Glenn knows him. He's watched him torch his secondary, 2-2 as far as his 4 starts against the Lions, 70%, 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception against Aaron Glenn's Detroit Lions when he was a quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. So they have a ton of cap space now. You could probably get Atlanta to eat some of that cap, but we'll see. That's just my prediction. I'm not 100% on that. And again, we'll dig into this quarterback situation a little bit more when we jump over to Underdog. Elijah Moore to the Rams. Mike LaFleur was the link there. His offensive coordinator with the New York Jets when he was a rookie, where he had his best season. That was the link there, but obviously bringing in Devontae Adams, bringing back Tutu Atwell, that's pretty much off the table. So I'm not really sure where Elijah Moore would go for now. Emeka Ibuka probably not going to the Texans anymore with Christian Kirk. If, let's say, Stephon Diggs got re-signed and Kirk didn't go to the Texans, then I would still have this as a very good possibility. But Ibuka is probably more of a slot receiver. He can do both. He can go inside and out, but I think he is more of a slot receiver. He's very similar to Christian Kirk realistically. So I don't think it would make a ton of sense for the Texans to draft Ibuka, unfortunately. So that one's probably off the table. Will Howard to the Giants, I think, is more on the table now than it's ever been. I think that makes just an absolute boatload of sense. Brian Dable type of a quarterback. He's the most NFL ready, in my opinion. So we'll see, but that's my pick still. And I think it's more likely than it's ever been. So that's something I've called like this list is pretty old. I've added a few basically here down. I've added in the last week or so, but most of these are pretty old. Ollie Gordon to the Pittsburgh Steelers. If Najee does not come back, which doesn't sound like he's going to, I think that's the perfect plug and play. Basically, he is Najee, more or less. He's very, very similar. Went to the same college as Jaylen Warren, who would be his backfield counterpart, and a little bit faster than Najee. Runs a little bit like Le'Veon Bell for me. So, yeah, plug in Ollie Gordon into Pittsburgh, and you're not losing anything in your backfield. Quinshon Judkins, I think, fits perfectly with the Chicago Bears with what they're doing. You got DeAndre Swift, who could be like an absolute poverty food stamp Jahmyr Gibbs. And then Quinshon Judkins is a little bit better maybe than David Montgomery. So, his David Montgomery clone in that offense, I'm sure he would want to replace DeAndre Swift as well, but you can't with the contract. So bring in a better option at running back and then deal with it down the road. Jack Bash, probably not going to the Commanders anymore. Jaden Daniels was his quarterback at LSU when he was a freshman, but probably not with the Debo news. Obviously, Ricky White, potentially still to the Chargers. Harbaugh likes guys that seem to, roast him. He likes Quentin Johnston, who tore it up against Michigan when he was at TCU. When Ricky White was a true freshman at Michigan State, he went for 8 catches, 196 yards, which is a school record, and 1 touchdown against Michigan, again, as a true freshman. So, and he'd be a cheap option. So that's what I think the Chargers are doing. I don't think they're making a big splash in free agency or T. Higgins or DK or anything like that. I think they look to the draft and fill a small hole. Realistically, I think they obviously love Ladd McConkey. I think they still like Quentin Johnston, and then just get yourself a Z on the other side, and you're happy with what you got. So that's how the spreadsheet's looking right now. Let's take a look. Yeah, Candyman, what's happening? Definitely some crazy day, and it's going to be crazier tomorrow. So if you're just popping into the stream, we're going to have a stream tomorrow night, Free Agent Frenzy, kind of a stream tomorrow night with some guests. It's going to be really fun, I think. So put that on your calendar tomorrow night, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern. There's going to be some familiar faces, some familiar guests. It'll be fun, and come check it out. So we'll talk about all of this and more, whatever happens tomorrow. Dylan Walden, what's happening, man? I haven't seen you in the chat before, so appreciate you coming in. Thoughts on moves the Panthers might do? I thought that they would cut mutual agreement to cut Adam Thielen. Other than that, realistically, like they need to do some work on their offensive line a little bit. Tight end is obviously not a need anymore with JT Sanders, and then Tommy Tremble coming back. The back end of that defense could use some work. Mike Jackson is a free agent. Xavier Woods is a free agent. Safety is a huge need for them for sure. Corner is a pretty big need for them. Trevin Wallace can probably take over at linebacker for what you need. They need edge rushers. Realistically, it's their defense. I think their offense is in a pretty good spot, actually. I would hope they can move on from Miles Sanders. Jonathan Brooks, I think they draft a running back somewhere, but Chuba Hubbard gets a new deal. Jonathan Brooks, that's a sticky situation, but I think they address running back somewhere in the draft, but it's mostly on the defensive side of the ball is where they gotta make some stuff happen. They need to get some playmakers, especially some edge rushers, especially. They got a lot of work to do on that defense. So that's what I would expect them to do. Just do nothing like the draft a few years ago where they drafted nothing but defensive players. That's what I would do if I was the Carolina Panthers when Matt Rule was their head coach. I believe it was his first year as head coach. Every single pick in the draft was a defensive player. I think they should probably do that again. So that's what I would do if I'm the Carolina Panthers. Jaden Higgins would be great for Chargers, but he's there in the second. If he's there in the second, yeah, that's a good call. That makes sense. Yeah, another guy like that. I think there's a lot of guys. I would think more of like your Z type. I think Jaden Higgins is more of an X, but hard to say. I mean, I don't think it would be a problem. So that kind of works for me. I'm fine with that. Hey, Cody, wild day of news. Can't wait for tomorrow. Especially excited to see where the QB carousel goes. Yeah, let's dig into that. Let's dig into the QB carousel. So let's get rid of this. Let's do that. Let's start talking about that. So this is where it starts for me. There's a few of these we're going to go over, but this is where it kind of starts. So Justin Fields has obviously been linked. Obviously, he was there last year. They say they would rather Justin Fields over Russell Wilson, right? Now Sam Darnold's coming into the conversation. So, I mean, if it's me, I would rather Sam Darnold for sure, but is he going to be comfortable in that offense? And is he going to want to go there? Again, I think that Seattle's a better fit for Sam Darnold personally, but obviously the Steelers have a much better offense, a much better team, much better opportunity to go to the playoffs and be successful. The Super Bowl is relatively within reach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, where it's not at all for the Seattle Seahawks. So who do they go with? I still think that it's going to be Justin Fields, just because I think Darnold's going to be too happy to go somewhere else. But it depends on someone else that we're going to talk about right now. So for the Pittsburgh Steelers, still hard to say. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is completely off the table, though I don't expect Aaron Rodgers to be there considering they have these two options. Go with the younger guy who could be your present and future unless they, get backdoored and they have no other choice, then maybe Aaron Rodgers finds its way, into a Steelers uniform. But this is the other conversation. Seattle Seahawks, do they go Sam Darnold or Aaron Rodgers? And then if they go Aaron Rodgers, they obviously draft his replacement in this draft. Is that going to be in the first round, second round? Who knows? Where they pick, call it Jackson Dart, would make a lot of sense. So if they go Aaron Rodgers and Jackson Dart, there you go. That can kind of get the job done. But is Aaron Rodgers going to want to go to Seattle where he knows he's just a stopgap and they're not going to the playoffs? Most likely. The connection with Aaron Rodgers in Seattle is John Schneider, the GM, who was with the Packers when Aaron Rodgers was there. And then with Sam Darnold, the connection is obviously Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator. I still think it's Sam Darnold in Seattle. And then I think it's going to end up being Justin Fields in Pittsburgh, which is an interesting one altogether. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So my prediction is still Sam Darnold to Seattle and Justin Fields to Pittsburgh. Then that brings up the Giants. What do they do, right? So I still think that Will Howard is a fantastic draft for them. Draft pick, probably second round, their first pick in the second round. Bring in Will Howard, who will be a quarterback of the future, doesn't have to start right away. And then one of these two guys come in, right? There's already been links and talks between Aaron Rodgers and the Giants. And then Russell Wilson is still there, who doesn't really seem to have a home right now. So these are the two guys realistically that no one really cares about, and they're just kind of there. No one really wants them. We'll see where they end up. Aaron Rodgers, I would say, now has two suitors with the Seattle Seahawks. Again, less likely to me, but with the John Schneider connection, it's something that's on the table. And then Russell Wilson doesn't really have any connections besides his, previous team in the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't really know where he fits if he's not going to the Raiders, which he's not. To me, the Giants are the only real fit. So I actually think it's going to be Russell Wilson. I really do. Again, a stopgap, draft Will Howard, bring in Russell Wilson. He's just started for one season. Hopefully, gets Brian Daboll off the hot seat. They win a couple more games. But we'll kind of see. Obviously, with Aaron Rodgers coming to the Giants, that takes Davante Adams off the table, or, Davante Adams getting signed by the Rams takes him off the table. But, that keeps the door open for Malik Neighbors being that high-end wide receiver that we want him to be, and we know he is and he can be. So if I had to make a lean and had to make a prediction, I would say Russell Wilson to the Giants, just because I think it makes more sense. Dollars and cents wise, and for what the Giants want to do. But it could be either one of these, I think. The Jets quarterback options. So obviously they're talking about Justin Fields. With the DK Metcalf trade, obviously the Pittsburgh Steelers are a lot more desirable, place to be now. So if, Justin Fields was saying, I don't want to be here, you guys, benched me for Russell Wilson, I don't want to be here, I want to go somewhere else, he might be changing his tune now with DK Metcalf in there as well. So things got a little more murky, I feel like, for the Jets. And I still think, again, now more than ever, I think that the Kirk Cousins deal actually makes more sense. And I know he doesn't want to get Michael Penix again, but you might not have a choice. Like that's just the reality. If they go to Kirk Cousins and say, hey, man, like we think Jackson Dart is 2 years away. And if he's not, then he's better than you. I don't know what to tell you, Kirk. Like, we're gonna draft Jackson Dart in the first round or whatever, trade down or in the second round. We're gonna do what we can to get Jackson Dart, or just tell him, hey, we can't guarantee you that we're not going to draft a quarterback, right? Do you want to be a starter this year? We can offer you that. You will be, regardless, you will be the starter this year, period, end of story. And then we can kind of take it from there, because they can cut him and move on from him, and he can get another opportunity somewhere else, much like what's happening with Russell Wilson these days. Or he's just that guy and you keep him on the roster and he takes you to the playoffs. So I just think it makes too much sense for the Jets to just make that trade for Kirk Cousins and then see what they can do in the draft. But I think Jackson Dart would be their preference. So we will see, but that's kind of my thoughts on the Jets quarterback options. I still think it's Kirk Cousins. Cleveland's quarterback options. What do they do? Obviously, we've heard about Kirk Cousins. We've heard about trades, this, that, and the other thing. I think the only thing that makes sense for Cleveland, the only thing that makes sense is just draft Cam Ward. That's all that makes sense. They have to get as cheap as possible as they can at quarterback. So if one of these other free agent wide receivers want to take like $4 million to try to have a shot to be the quarterback, then, Godspeed. But I think the only option is for the Cleveland Browns to draft Cam Ward and have him start, unfortunately, because I don't think it's going to go well, but have him start from day one on the cheap, be your quarterback and forced to be your quarterback of the present, but he's obviously, the quarterback of their future. So that's what I'm looking at for the Cleveland Browns. That's what I'm thinking for quarterback options as it sits right now for tomorrow. Obviously, I could be wrong, but those are my thoughts, and that's how I feel about it. Look at the ticker down there. It's going up every day. Hit that like and subscribe button for me if you don't mind. We're at 449, almost 450 out of 500 subscribers. We get to 500 subscribers, I'm going to do a 12-hour live stream if we get there before the NFL draft. So we have over a month to get there, but hopefully there's still, best ball tournaments to draft before or we can get there before it kind of wraps up best ball season. So a couple more things to talk about. Engage AI. The AI has been engaged for Disbanded Brotherhood. It's an inside joke. He gets it. I have to think it's one of Darnold, Rodgers, or Russ with those two receivers. Yeah, I think they're going to end up with Justin Fields because they want him over Russ. They've pretty much made that known. And then do you really want like Rodgers to come in for one season and all the things that he brings? I don't do that if I'm the Steelers. I think they would love to have Darnold. I think they would love to have him. I just don't think that he's going to be comfortable enough going to the Steelers for similar money that Seattle would offer him. And he can be part of something, go to a Clint Kubiak offense where he knows the verbiage, he knows the offense, he's comfortable. He just came from somewhere where he had that comfortability, go to Seattle. That's just where I think he ends up. We'll see. Obviously, the Steelers would make more sense, again, for him as far as like going to the playoffs, being a Super Bowl contender, having the weapons. All of that makes more sense for Sam Darnold in Pittsburgh, but is he going to want to do that? That's what it's going to come down to. Is he going to want to be comfortable and happy or have a chance to win a Super Bowl? That's what it's going to boil down to for Sam Darnold. So we will see. We're going to take a look quickly at I'm just going to clear out my rankings because I need to redo them anyways. We're going to look at two things. Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams ADP. What happens to their ADP, right? People have been pulling Puka Nacua up the board. He's now wide receiver 4. I think he absolutely falls down from here, obviously, and that's not breaking any records, right? So Nico Collins, is he going to fall below Nico? Potentially. He definitely should, in my opinion, fall below Amon-Ra St. Brown. You know, the Brian Thomas, is he going to be able to rise? Probably not, like before the end of this tournament. But Malik Neighbors, does he go? We'll see what happens in free agency with the Giants. Does he go ahead of Puka Nacua? Hard to say. But Puka's definitely going to fall down, no question. And then what happens to Devontae Adams, who is wide receiver 28, ADP 49? Does he rise? I think he goes ahead of Rashee Rice, you know. Ted McMillan's an interesting one. He should definitely go ahead of DK Metcalf now. Shouldn't go ahead of Zay Flowers. Basically, he doesn't really move too much, I don't think. As far as Devontae, let's call it 4 spots up to wide receiver 24, I think. Swaps with DK, maybe. Something like that. But I'm certainly not bringing them up the board. Something that I think is going to happen with these Rams players, all of them, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, and especially Matt Stafford, is they're all going to shoot up the draft board, which is going to make me draft them a heck of a lot less because I'm not going to pay a premium. Even on Matt Stafford, I'm really not. I'll draft him. You know, let's take a look at that, I guess. Like, let's take a look at Matt Stafford for a second before we get into the next one. Quarterback 26, ADP 165. He should definitely go ahead of Cam Ward. I would have done that regardless of this news today. He should go ahead probably of JJ McCarthy, and I would have done that regardless of the news today. I don't know about Anthony Richardson. It would depend on who they bring in, but if it's Gardner Minshew, like I predict, then I think he's fine where he's at. Probably scores more fantasy points than Bryce Young, but you got that rushing upside with Bryce Young. So it's close. Like I'm not bringing him up to the 140s, 20 picks ahead of his current ADP, 150s, whatever. Sure. But we'll see what happens. I'm just not going to pay a premium for these Rams players, whether it's Sam Darnold, Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, or Devontae Adams. I'm not paying a premium personally. The next one, obviously, what happens to DK Metcalf and George Pickens. So they obviously both fall, I would fully expect. I'm super happy that I was not drafting much of any George Pickens because he now, I mean, again, they have DK Metcalf at home. Like, what's the difference really between DK Metcalf and George Pickens? They're very, 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 very similar in how they play. So I think that's what that's going to do is actually open it up for someone underneath. Is that Pat Freiermuth, as it sits right now? Yes, it is. Is that Calvin Austin? I don't. He doesn't really play that like your slot. You know, he's not your prototypical slot receiver. He does have a role for sure, but I think this, DK coming in with Pickens already there, I think actually kind of hurts Calvin Austin. And then if they go ahead in the draft and bring in someone like a Xavier Restrepo or Jalen Knoll, someone like that, that could be a really good get for the Steelers. And they could have a lot of food, a lot of targets underneath with these two guys stretching it out on the sidelines. But right now it's Pat Freiermuth for me that's going to be wide open in the middle of the field. But either way, they both are going to fall. So DK's got to get a lot closer to George Pickens, swap with Devontae Adams probably. I would be comfortable enough with DK going around the Jordan Addison range. I think Chris Olave should move up a little bit now. I'm a little bit in on Chris Olave now that we know that Derek Carr is still going to be the quarterback there. I would take Waddle over both of them. Cortland Sutton should probably go ahead of both of them. And then he falls into this range, which is fine, but they should, DK's got to fall probably like 15 spots ADP wise. And then Pickens, I don't know, 10. So we'll see where it kind of, I'm not particularly drafting any of these guys right this second until, well, these two, I'm not drafting either of these two, DK or George Pickens, until I know their quarterback. So tomorrow, most likely. But I won't be drafting them tonight when we do a draft, which will be right now. Let's get into one. Let's do a big board. So let's jump in. If you're in the chat, we're in the draft, waiting on 7. Tons of space. Couple comments. Let's get into it. Already saw a draft today. Puka in the first, followed by Adams in the third, followed by Stafford in the fourth. There you go. Like, it's going to get crazy. It already has, and it's going to continue to get crazy. And I'm not paying that. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Yeah, I don't know about this. He is still lurking, and I did like him, but yeah, I liked him coming in as a rookie. He's going to have to stay healthy. It's all going to depend on the quarterback. So I'm not drafting any Pittsburgh Steelers. Actually, Pat Freiermuth, I will, because his job is safe. He's going to have that underneath stuff. So in this draft right now, which maybe I will, maybe I won't be able to get him, I will actually not pay a premium, but I'll draft him at ADP for sure. But he is still lurking. I got Pickens all the way down to like Ayuk. That's completely fair. Completely fair. That's probably where he should be going. So we got Justin Herzig in here. Good to see Herzig in the draft, although it's going to toughen up this room a little bit. Green Bean in the 7 spot. And if anyone else is in here, you're in the chat and you're not letting me know, let me know if you want to review the team. But after the draft, I'll take a look at my squad, take a look at Green Bean, and we'll take a look at what Justin Herzig does. But good luck to everybody. It looks like a tough room. Couple badgeless, though. So we will see. But it's going to be interesting. Yeah, where does Puka go? Where does Stafford go? Where does Adams go, right? Where do these guys go? And then same thing, DK, George Pickens. Where are they going to go? Right in front of me, Jamie Robbins. So MLB Syndicate, we'll take a look at that. Can't wait to get sniped by both Green Bean and Jamie here. So that'll be nice. That'll be nice for me. It depends on if they bring back. Should we be moving up Jalen Warren? I feel like he's slightly better bet now. We have more room to operate. Yeah, I mean, as the pass catching back, but who's the quarterback again, right? Like, is it going to be check down Russell Wilson still? Not likely. Justin Fields isn't checking it down too much to the quarterback or to the running back. So it really just depends. I'm not moving them right this second, but if they get the right quarterback, like if it's Sam Darnold, yeah, I would say bump them up. Absolutely. If it's Justin Fields, stays right there because they're going to be bringing in some competition. Whether Najee comes back, which is not very likely, but if they bring in like a Damian Martinez or Ollie Gordon or someone else, then that's going to hurt Jalen Warren regardless. So, yeah, we'll see. We will see how that goes. We'll see what Jamie does here. Can't be too vocal, but obviously goes Lamb. That's fair. I'm not going to go Puka here because he's got to fall for me. Mind you, he did fall to me at 9 here, but I did just say he's got to fall below Amon-Ra. Do I do that or do I go with the Brian Thomas route? Do I want to play it safe or shoot for the moon? Let's shoot for the moon. Let's take Brian Thomas. Definitely has more overall upside than Amon-Ra, but Amon-Ra's got the highest floor possible of any of these guys at the back end of the first round. So, yeah, let's just take Brian Thomas and see what works out from there. Disbanded. I'm not happy with either of their landing spots. Are we talking DK and Devontae Adams? For real life football for the Rams, damn, the Rams are dangerous. That team is that's a good team. That's a really, really good football team with the LA Rams. They got a little bit of work to do on the back end of that defense, corners, obviously, but the offense is in great shape. And the the front seven, they need some linebacker help as well. Roseboom and the other linebacker, the other inside linebacker, they're both free agents as it sits right now. So yeah, should be interesting. Where do we go? Do I start drafting Christian McCaffrey? Maybe. Maybe. Okay, I'm actually happy he went there. It's either Drake London or Lad McConkey. Let's go Drake London. He's just my guy. I want to be at 20% or more of Drake London. I am very high on him this year. So, yeah, that Penix connection, I really like what I see. I like what I saw at the end of last year. So, I want to be 20% plus on Drake London as a second round value for sure. So, let's bring him in. Nothing crazy, but let's obviously keep an eye on the Puka drafter. See if he brings up Devontae Adams to 34 or something crazy. 34, 39. Where's Devontae Adams? Where is Devontae Adams? Jeez, right there, right in front of me. So 49, yeah, you could bring him up to 39, I suppose, and it wouldn't be that bad regardless. But if he brings him up to 34, I think that's aggressive. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, like I said, we want to keep an eye on DK and George Pickens. Both should go after ADP, no question. Mind you, George Pickens has been falling and he's going to continue to fall, and he should. He should have been falling regardless. So we'll see where he ends up. Those are obviously the three I want to keep an eye on. Obviously, Matt Stafford as well with, again, the Puka drafter, see where he goes. Non-Puka drafters have been pulling up Adams to the 3-4 turn since the news. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, at 39, I mean, 36, 37, okay, what's the difference really? But I mean, I guess it's okay at 34, I suppose. Like, it's not that crazy. If you're bringing them up to like let's say you're drafting Puka at 5 and you bring him up to 29, I think we can agree that's aggressive. That's for sure. But we'll see. I mean, if that's something you want to get like exposure to, then go ahead, like make it happen. Like I am going to at some point, I'm going to get exposure to the, second round Terry McLaurin, early pulled up third round Jaden Daniels, and then even bring up Debo. I'm going to get some exposure to that. I'm going to. I don't love it, but I'm going to get a couple bullets of that double stack regardless. I'm going to eat the ADP and just make it happen. But again, I'm not going to love it, but I'm going to do it. So same thing with the Rams. If you want to do it with the Rams, like you're going to have to pull them up to 34, 36, 39, right? But to be honest, this is where Puka should fall to, right around here. Like I guess I could have taken him at 9 and been okay with it, but I do expect Puka to still be the number one target, like the number one option and a bit of a target monster. Obviously, he has that familiarity with Matt Stafford, with Sean McVay, with the offense. But I do think he should fall behind probably Amon-Ra just because you're getting that guarantee of Amon-Ra St. Brown where you don't get it with Puka. You do get a bit of a higher ceiling, I suppose, but the difference isn't high enough for me to want to take Puka over Amon-Ra. And yeah, I'm probably sliding Brian Thomas up over Puka as well. So yeah, I think he becomes a 1-2 turn pick, Puka Nacua. 11 through 14, something like that. 10 through 15, whatever. And we're on the clock. Wasn't exactly paying attention there. Does that make Hiron more valuable? Maybe. I haven't drafted Kyron Williams yet at all. Let's take a share. Let's take a share and see how we do here. Rams averaged 21.6 points per game last year. I could see them being 25 to 26 points now. Yeah. Yep. Don't disagree with that. There's a lot of mouths to feed, though, now, right? So Jordan Whittington's still there. Tutu Atwell's still there. I know they like Xavier Smith, their returner. I know they like him, but I don't think that he's going to have too much of a role. At least I think it's Xavier Smith. I'm just going to double check the name on that. Yeah, Xavier Smith, their return guy. I know they like him a lot, but again, there's not going to be really much for him. But yeah, they could definitely go up. I still think that they're going to run the ball a ton. So that actually might make me like Kyron a little bit more. We'll see. We'll see where that exactly lands as we kind of work through. But I might move Kyron just to where he is. I might just start drafting him at ADP, which is exactly what I did, and then get some shares of that. But we'll see where it kind of lands. He won't be there. So what do we do here? Running backs are gone and pretty much dead for me, right? Where we're at in the draft. So Zay Flowers could be the click here. Let's go to Devontae Smith. It's not likely, but you never know. The complete outside possibility that Jalen Hurts falls, never going to happen. But I still think it's Devontae Smith over Jameson Williams for sure. And then close with Zay Flowers. But I think it's more possible that Devontae Smith eats more out of A.J. Brown's role than Williams into Amon-Ra and Zay Flowers into everyone else in that offense. Bateman, as it sits right now, Andrews, who may not be on that team anymore, but obviously Derrick Henry's part of that conversation with Zay Flowers. But I think that makes the most sense. Devontae Smith, I think that makes the most sense. We'll see. We will see. But the Puka drafter did not bring up Adams, so that's interesting. A.J. Brown drafter picks up Jalen Hurts. That's fine. That makes tons of sense. And there goes Devontae Adams, pick 45, kind of at ADP. So I'm okay with that if he moves up just a little bit, like I said, above DK Metcalf. I'm not sure I'm taking him ahead of Rome Odunze. So Herzig picks up Odunze there. That's a quality click in my opinion. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm taking Adams over Rome Odunze, but I do take Adams over DK. So this has kind of gone how I feel it should and how I feel it's going to continue to go. But we'll see where DK goes or where he falls to. Because pick 44, he's already slipping a little bit. There he goes. Might have been an auto pick. Is this guy autoing? Looks like Justin Jefferson, but outside of that, I guess he could be. I don't know. Chase and Higgins, I really think it's even less likely now with the DK trade and contract. It's even less likely that T. Higgins is back with the Bengals. They have to prioritize the Jamar Chase contract without a question. They have to. And I don't know why it's not done already, if I'm being honest. So, especially with the fucking Myles Garrett contract that comes out today. God, now, the Bengals, just sit on your hands and watch the price tag go up. Good job, guys. Nice work, Duke Tobin. Just sit on your ass, sit on your hands, do nothing, and watch the number go up. Good strategy, guys. Well done. Either way, Jamar Chase, that contract has to be the priority, and then we'll see about T. Higgins. But I don't think it's going to be able to make sense. I really don't. I think they can ask for a second rounder now, and hopefully someone's willing to give that up. New England Patriots, and they can pay him the 31 or whatever 30 million that he's going to ask for. So yeah, we'll see where that lands. But the Jamar Chase situation is really, really starting to piss me off and frustrate me. It just is not making sense with what they're doing. But welcome to being a Bengals fan. It's not easy. So Pickens, let's see where he falls to. I certainly won't be picking him here. Hampton would have been my click, no question, but there's not a chance in the world that he's getting by Green Bean and Jamie there. So good times, but it was never going to happen. So that's fine. Did Olave go? He did. Okay. I'm going to bring up Kenny Walker. I'm only at 27%. I say only because now he's going to go up, right? He certainly should. I want to be over 30% now. Obviously, they're going to be running the shit out of the ball. Clint Kubiak, offensive coordinator, a Kubiak system. Give me the running backs. I liked Kenny Walker already. Now DK Metcalf isn't there. They definitely need to work on that offensive line, but that's obviously going to be a priority. They've cleared a shit ton of cap space, so they can definitely be aggressive in free agency, and then they also obviously have a draft. So wheels up for Kenny Walker. That's something we haven't talked about yet as far as value is concerned. Kenny Walker, Charbonnet, you can move those guys up your board a little bit, I think, and I will be. So decent looking lineup so far. I have some options. Back doors are wide open for me. So we'll see where it lands, but I'm digging where this is going. Not exactly my favorite wide receiver range. So let's just take my guy Henderson. If I can get him past ADP, I will do that. Let's get him. Didn't get Hampton, so I'll get Henderson. I'd like more exposure to Hampton, but it is what it is. I still want to be 20 to 30% with Henderson. I just think he's an absolute stud. So let's do that. I think there's another thing I've been thinking about the last couple of days, just random thought here. I was thinking about it earlier today. I'm going to be pushing tight end like crazy. We talked about it a few times. Last stream, I think we talked about this where, I don't like Brock Bowers' price at all. Trey McBride is fine where he is, but if that's our elite tight end, like Brock Bowers should fall into the third now for sure. And if he doesn't, I won't be taking him. So he should fall into the third. Then you have Trey McBride also in the third. Is that even an elite tight end qualification? What do we call elite tight end now? Like, I don't think that you can say that that's like even a strategy that you could, employ, right? Like it's just not a thing anymore. So I'm going to push tight end to the bottom of the barrel. I think there's so much value at the end of drafts with tight end. And then there's that range in the middle of the draft where it's right here, even you could say Kincaid, Ferguson. We'll see where Evan Ingram lands, but not necessarily right now. Yeah, Kyle Pitts, Cade Otton, Freiermuth, I think, is on that list now, especially with the DK coming over. The middle of the field is going to be wide open for Pat Freiermuth. Cole Kmet's right there. Even Zach Ertz, Mike Gesicki's still there. You could put Higbee on the table there. I don't have much of them. I have 0%. Haven't clicked them yet, and that could be a gap for me. But I've tons of time to catch up if I want. Brenton Strange is obviously moving up. Even Chiga Okonkwo is there. Juwan Johnson's a free agent. Some people like Theo Johnson. I don't really. We'll see if Michael Mayer gets traded. Then there's a bunch of rookies in this range. Mason Taylor, Noah Fant should absolutely be on your list right now. I think we saw what tight ends do in Clint Kubiak's offense last year with the Saints, right? So, yeah, with DK and Tyler Lockett gone now, you can put AJ Barner on your list, Noah Fant on your list. There's just so much value at the end of the draft at tight end that I don't think it makes sense to, certainly not with Brock Bowers, in my opinion. I don't think this elite tight end is a conversation anymore. So, yeah, I'm never going to feel like I'm falling behind at tight end. That's for damn sure. That will never come out of my mouth. Falling behind at tight end will never be said by me. Couple picks away. What are we trying to do? We'll see. We'll jump in the chat in a second here. Tyrone Tracy needs to fall a little bit more for me to start clicking him. I was definitely looking at downs there. Ayuk goes. It's got to be Jacoby Myers here. Has to be Jacoby Myers. So let's go that route. And then we've got a few picks. Don't like this wide receiver range very much. Cooper Kupp is just, I don't know where he goes right now. He's obviously going to get cut. He's going to get released. He's not going to be traded. No one's going to give up any draft capital for him. Raiders are bringing back Adam Butler. Cool. Defensive lineman, defensive tackle. That's good for them, I suppose. Makes sense. Is this a range I could take Tyrone Tracy? I suppose. I could. A full round after ADP. 12 picks after ADP. If I'm going to click them, that's where you click them. Do I want to go down that road? Not particularly. Mark Andrews was on my list. Darnell Mooney was potentially on the list there. I guess I could take Tyrone Tracy and just hope. I mean, he's still going to have a role. So let's bring in Tracy, a round of ADP value. He's still going to have a role on the team, obviously. So let's take a look at the chat here. Green Bean. If I go Marion, I skip Trevion, but typically I skip a Marion and take Trev. Yeah, fair enough. I just got to get more exposure to Hampton because I wasn't taking him enough. When he was going closer to Trevion Henderson, I was taking Henderson and more often than Hampton. But now you got to take Hampton before Trev, and here we are. So I need to catch up a little bit on my Hampton shares. I'm only at like 15%. I'd like to be at like 20. So yeah, I hear you on that one. Juwan Johnson, definitely, like he's gonna, it's Juwan Johnson and it's Tyler Conklin. And give me Juwan Johnson personally. Seattle's a possible landing spot for Johnson, obviously with Kubiak. But they've already got Fant and Barner that they like both. Like I just don't see Juwan Johnson going there, but he hopefully will get a solid landing spot. For me, it would be Juwan Johnson over Conklin, no question. Bless me as far as free agent pecking order. And then the rookies, because you know more of what you get out of those two. Like you got to put those guys ahead of the rookies, except for probably Warren and maybe Colston Loveland. But you know what you're getting out of these guys, so you're getting an NFL tight end out of Juwan Johnson and Tyler Conklin. But where they land, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure on that one. Seattle's on the board, I suppose, for Juwan Johnson, but they just don't need him, and it wouldn't make sense. So I don't think that they do that, but you never know. I do the same with tight ends. Out of 60 draft, I only have 6 shares of McBride and Bowers. Yeah, I'm not far off of where you are. Bauer or McBride more because he's cheaper, and I think is the same realistically. I think they're exceptionally similar as far as their stat production will be. I think Bowers pulls back from what he did last year. I don't think that's breaking news, but maybe it is. And maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. But I'm 3% Brock Bowers, 3% overall, 3% in the big board, 9% McBride, 10% overall. So I'll be more in on the McBride price, no question. Unless Bowers, falls to the third, I probably won't be clicking him at all. Maybe the turn, then maybe I will, but he's got to fall. Regardless, he's got to fall. So we'll see where he kind of lands. But I think the Chargers could draft tight end, but at the same time, Disley is free and is a fine tight end 3. Yeah, you could definitely go Disley. You could definitely do that. I think they draft a tight end for sure. It's just like where and who. But, Disley is still going to be on the field at the very least, blocking a little bit. But we'll see what happens there. I definitely would have liked Bo Nix, but wasn't expecting him to fall anymore. He fell quite a bit. So that's unfortunate for me, but didn't particularly expect him to be there. Keon Coleman. Najee. I really don't want to take a running back, and I won't. I don't want any of these quarterbacks particularly. I'm going to gamble. No gamble, no future. I'm going to gamble on Travis Hunter here. I'd like to get, again, at field between 8 to 10% or at 10% kind of thing with Travis Hunter. So I have a few more clicks to get there. I'm going to gamble on that. Yeah, don't like this range of a lot of things. It's not a bad range to need a running back, I suppose, but I don't need or want to draft a running back here. I actually wanted to draft Charbonnet, so that's unfortunate. I would have brought him in with Kenny Walker just to guarantee myself that Seattle backfield. But he went. That's fine. Not the end of the world. Let's do the Marvin Mims thing. I just want to be at field. Big playability, spike week stuff. Let's bring him in. He was kind of who you needed last year, if I recall. Then I'm okay to push wide receiver most likely. I'm pretty backdoored into 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends. So 3-6-8-3 is pretty much exactly where I'll land. I highly doubt that changes, but we'll see. Candyman loves the Hunter pick. Regardless of ADP, each draft is its own universe of outcomes. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, man. That's pretty spot on. I agree with that. I just want to, like I said, I just want to be like a little bit above the field. So 10% is what I want to be. 150 drafts, give me 15 to 20 shares of Travis Hunter. I think he would be, if he was playing wide receiver, if he was wide receiver Travis Hunter, he'd be wide receiver 1 in this class. Almost no question. It isn't even a question. He would be wide receiver 1 in this class. I can only imagine what he would have done with a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. But how much is he going to play on defense? Sounds like everybody wants to play him on defense. I want enough where if a team says, look, dude, you're a wide receiver. And to be honest with you, I've said all along, and I'll say it again right now, I think he would be a better NFL wide receiver than an NFL corner. That's my opinion. Watching tape on it, I think he would be a much better wide receiver than he would be corner. Plus, more money, more fame, more this, that, and the other thing. Like, I don't know why he wants to play corner so bad, man. Just give it up and be the wide receiver one in this class. Get drafted, third overall, probably, maybe second, or you know what I mean? Like the playing corner changes his value. And realistically, I think he ends up third or fourth overall. Because I think it's Abdul Carter, I think it's Cam Ward, and then I think it's probably Travis Hunter, because I don't think you can pass on that. So that's kind of the way I see it. And if they do, then the Patriots will be happy to scoop them up, and they're going to say, we need you on offense. That's the way I see it. I could absolutely be wrong, but that's kind of the way I see it on that one. Trevor Lawrence gets pulled up the board. That's annoying. Naked Trevor Lawrence. So that's fun. But it is what it is. I was hoping he would fall to ADP. Like, I didn't think that was asking too much to just draft him at ADP, but it is what it is. We'll move on. Doors are still open for the most part. So yeah, I might have to open some more doors for myself at quarterback, but I definitely got a couple open doors. Didn't expect either of them to take Michael Penix, so that's the obvious click there. Let's pair him up with Drake London. Easy click. I would have went Trevor Lawrence over Penix, but it is what it is. He already went, so let's do that. Let's get this off the board. No one's going to draft him high. Just force him to play one side of the ball. No one's going to draft him high to force him to play one side of the ball. I think you're underestimating, how NFL coaches think and how intricate NFL offenses and defenses are. This is not an easy proposition, man. Like, from what I've heard, he played defense in college. He did everything defense in college, and they just had packages for him on offense. Turns out he's the best wide receiver in the country. So it's pretty easy to put him on the field, right? And that actually isn't exactly what they wanted to do. So it just kind of worked out that way. And it's not going to be, I personally don't think that's realistic or doable in the NFL to play both sides of the ball like that. I really, really, really do not. I guess I could be wrong, but it's not going to happen, man. It's not going to happen. Let's just do Pitts here. I think he stays with Atlanta. So I'm going to try that double stack situation. Yeah, I think you're underestimating Dark Side Dev. Just how complicated, especially defenses are in the NFL. And to try to learn the languages of both offense and defense at the NFL level, no. Maybe in his second, third year, maybe he can start to pick stuff up, but regardless, he's going to play one side and have packages on the other. So, and again, if it were me, I would say, sorry, Travis, but you're a wide receiver. That's what I would say. I don't think there's much of a market for Travis or for Goddard, for Dallas Goddard. I just don't think there's much of a market for him, really. Like, who's trading a fourth? Allegedly, is what the news is, right? Who's trading a fourth for Dallas Goddard? Like, what are you getting out of Dallas Goddard that you couldn't get out of Juwan Johnson? Realistically, similar age, similar skill set. Why would you trade assets to Philly for Dallas Goedert? I just don't see it. So I don't think he gets traded at all. I don't know where that news came from, if I'm being honest. Like that kind of popped up out of nowhere. Um, yeah, that kind of just showed up that they were trading him, and he was on the block and 4th-round pick. But what's the market? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me personally. So I don't think so. I would be very surprised if he did. Where did DK go? Or sorry, George Pickens, 61. Interesting. Only 2 picks past ADP. I guess if you're banking on the Baltimore-Detroit situation, in the playoffs, maybe, but I think that's a little rich. Personally, I think that could be a little rich. I'm pretty comfortable with all of my rooms as we sit right now. I'd like to touch on quarterback at some point. No Fergie snipe. Definitely won't be me. Obviously, I'm after you, but I can't tell you a green bean won't do it. Hard to say. Shouldn't have said it. If you get sniped, it's not my fault. You didn't. There you go. Fergie's all yours. We're going to bring in Anthony Richardson here. I definitely need to hit on quarterback. Need to touch on quarterback. No question. So let's bring in Anthony Richardson. Yeah, let's do that. At the end of this, I think I'll feel okay with my quarterback room, but right now I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. But I think it'll work out. I think it'll be a little light. Don't get me wrong. A little thin, but my wide receiver and running back room should be in a good spot. So let's see how that works out. Stafford made it past the fourth hallelujah. Hey, let's see. Where'd he go? Is he still on the board? Wow. I would have drafted him by now. And the Puka drafter isn't even going to take him. At least he shouldn't. So the Devontae Adams drafter is hoping he falls back. Yeah, how do you take Cam Ward over Stafford here? What are we doing? Same guy who... No, I thought that was the guy who took a naked Trevor Lawrence, but it wasn't. Still, how do you take Cam Ward over Matt Stafford there when you draft Devontae Adams? I don't understand that one. I am going to take Blake Corum here. If I take Kyren Williams, we're at ADP. I'm almost certainly going to take Blake Corum with him. I like the prospect of having the LA Rams running back. I just don't know who it's going to be for every game in the this season. So similar to, I would have taken Charbonnet and Blake Corum in this build. So I would have had a 6 running back room of what you see here, but Charbonnet instead of, let's say, Tracy, and whatever rookie I fire in at the end of the draft. Obviously, Kyren Williams has had a lot of touches so far in his career. 350 exactly last year, and 250 whatever. So 600 touches over the last 2 seasons for Kyren Williams. That's concerning. I like the prospect of having the LA Rams running back, but I can't guarantee it's going to be Kyren Williams all year. So if I'm taking him in the 3rd round, of these drafts, you bet your ass I'm going to take Blake Corum with them. That's kind of just what I'm doing with the LA Rams. And I'm going to try to get a little more of that. I've done it a few times, but I'm going to try to get a little more with the DK Metcalf trade. I'm going to try to do that a little more with the Seattle offense, with Kenny Walker and Zach Charbonnet, where I just want the running back in that offense, no question. You're going to get some spike weeks out of the backup or the 1B anyways. But if there's an injury, you're going to want that guy. That's for sure. So that's something I'm doing with both the Rams, for sure the Rams, because this is my first share of Kyren Williams. But I'm going to try to pick off more of that with the Seattle Seahawks, with Kenny Walker and Zach Charbonnet. But we'll see where that kind of lands, because I don't want to push it. I don't want to force it. But if it's available, I'm going to do it. I'm fine to wait till the end of the draft to take another 2 tight ends. I'll take one more running back at some point. Doesn't need to be anytime soon. We'll see. Don't need to force it. Yeah. Got some options. Justin Fields, I was hoping and praying he would fall for no good reason. And obviously there's no way that's going to happen. So, but you never know. I was crossing my fingers just in case. Wow. And Matt Stafford falls to the Devontae Adams drafter. That's pretty lucky, in my opinion. I wouldn't try to be pushing Matthew Stafford, especially right after this news, right? So good for him. Good for you. That worked out, Iron Lung. That definitely worked out in your favor. I really, really don't think Jamie's going to take a 4th quarterback, so I'm going to take Sam Darnold here. It would suck now with this team. It would suck if he goes to Seattle with Kenny Walker, but I could bring in like Noah Fant and it would still be okay. Like it would still kind of work for me. But either way, Sam Darnold's going to get a good landing spot. It sounds like either Pittsburgh or Seattle. So either way, I'm kind of happy. But for this team that I'm drafting, I would prefer Pittsburgh. That's not my prediction. My prediction is Seattle, but obviously for what I'm building, I would prefer a Pittsburgh landing spot. So I can be okay with this quarterback room. I was going to go with Geno, obviously, to pair him up with my Jacoby Myers share. But where did he go? To the Bowers drafter? Nope, just naked. I guess you could bring it back with Trey Tucker, which is what I was going to do. But, you know, in a vacuum, give me Sam Darnold over Geno Smith in a vacuum. But whatever. Not the end of the world. Artillery Frost double taps some rookies I like personally. Alec Pierce might have been on the board for me to take with Anthony Richardson, but that's okay. DJ Giddens is the click here for sure. Easy. Done at running back now. I definitely want more DJ Giddens. I'd like to be at like at least 12 to 15% DJ Giddens. I'm only at 9, so give me some more shares. And I'm happy with this running back room with the value I got on Tracy, and then, you know, locked up the running back for the Rams, most likely. Kenny Walker, I'm happy with. Trevi Henderson, I'm happy with. Giddens had a value, which is rare these days. I'll take that. I think we're in good shape. I think the value. So this is what I'm doing now. Right now, this is what I'm doing. Except for earlier today when I didn't take a single rookie, which was funny. Literally not one rookie in my entire draft, which I've literally not done. That's the only time I've done that. And what did I do? Pretty zero RB, but regardless. What the 2 positions I want to push to the end of the draft are wide receiver and tight end. No question. No question about it. It's not even a conversation. I just think there's way more value, way more value at wide receiver and tight end than any other position. You could say, like, I think Derek Carr is a reasonable value, but he's pulled up now because where did he just go? Oh, wow. 150. Interesting. Okay, he's getting pulled way up the board. Wow, 50 picks ahead of ADP. I'm not sure if I can, get behind that, but I think he's a value at ADP 200. That's for sure. But either way, that's a little surprising. But I think there's just so much value at tight end and wide receiver that I want to be done picking quarterbacks by Sam Darnold, maybe Derek Carr. Well, until tomorrow. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But maybe Derek Carr, Sam Darnold. I want to be done quarterbacks, and I want to be done running back by Damian Martinez. Maybe Javonte if I had to, Braylon Allen, DJ Giddens, Isaac Guerrero, Ollie Gordon, maybe, Damian Martinez for sure. Maybe Javonte Williams. Like, I want to be done running back by, let's say, round 16. I want to be done quarterback and done running back. No question. That's going to be my main strategy for the rest of I think I have 75 more bullets. I'm like right at the pace of the big board. So I'm super happy about that. I have tons of room. And then I've got like 9 little boards to just kind of get it right. But I want to wait until tomorrow until I finish those 9. So I might have to power draft because we're getting towards the end, but not too worried about that. I'm sure I can wrap those up in a day if I had to. So we're wide receiver and tight end. Strange would have been all right, but nah. Let's bring in a share of Adonai Mitchell to pair up with Anthony Richardson. This is my first share of Adonai Mitchell. I'm not super in love with the click, but let's do it. I'd like to get some correlation with Anthony Richardson with unknown Sam Darnold and the potential of Kyle Pitts not being on the Falcons. So let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Still need 2 more tight ends for sure. Yeah. But I think I'm not worried about tight end. Again, we went through it earlier. How far up is my boy Tootin going now? You have to draft him in the 12th round if you want him, which is just killing me every day. It kills me every day that I don't have 1,000,000% Bayshall Tootin. Yeah, he's 12th round now. So I think his ADP is like 150 or something like that, but it's going to keep going up. Yeah, 153. My average is 185 at 24%. So that's cool, I suppose, but I wish it was 100% at 220. You know what I mean? That hurts my soul every time. So this is going to get up to like 140 something by tomorrow, and it's just going to keep going up realistically. We're going to bring in Yoshi Voss for sure. For sure. This is an easy click for me right here. More value at wide receiver. I think Kayshon Boutte is definitely back on the table for sure. I want to be more than I'm at right this second, but either way, we're going Yoshi Voss with the potential that T. Higgins doesn't come back. And even if he does, I still like Yoshi Voss, especially in the 18th round. But if he's not there, then Yoshi Voss is a smash. He flies up the board, and we'll see where it kind of goes. But done at tight ends, so we'll wrap it up with done at wide receiver. We'll wrap it up with 2 tight ends to finish it off. Kevin Taylor, Unfiltered Opinions. First time I think I've seen you in the chat. Appreciate you coming in. Who's going to break the board if that's possible? Well, it was Bayshall Tootin at one point. Like, what round are we talking? Like 16 and lower, 12 and lower, 18 a night, 18 to 20. I honestly think that it's fully on the table for Audric Estime. I'm 25%. If you're drafting him in like the 20th round sort of thing, I think that it's fully on the table for him to be this year's Kyron Williams. Similar career arc, same college, similar combine, similar potential. Do I think that the Broncos draft a quarter or running back? 100% I do. But if they don't bring in like a Najee Harris in free agency and they don't draft like a Damian Martinez or an Ollie Gordon or something like that, Audric Estime could be the Mark Ingram in this offense. So that was literally my comp for Audric Estime when he was coming out of Notre Dame was Mark Ingram. And then he gets drafted to a Sean Payton team. I think I did pretty good on that comp, if I'm being honest. And if he can be the Mark Ingram in that offense, he could be that guy. So Audric Estime is on my board. Bashal Toon, like I said, was, but now he's, that ship has sailed a little bit. The wide receivers, Jack Bash, Jalen Noel, they were definitely on the list, but they've risen since the combine, obviously. So that's changed a little bit. I still think there's tons of value in Tez Johnson. I'm going to still be at 20. I'm slowing down for sure. I was at like 40% at one point. But again, that's why I left myself so many bullets that I could catch up and be fine with my exposures. So I'm at 27% now of Tez Johnson, and that's going to keep going down. So I'll be between like 15 to 20%. I don't really want to be too far away from 20% on Tez Johnson. I think that he had a better combine than people think. Obviously, he didn't run a quick 40, but all the other drills were very encouraging. So I still think that there's a lot of value in Tez Johnson being a 20th round click. Elijah Moore, depending on landing spot. I like Elijah Moore a lot. I thought he was going to go to the Rams with the Mike LaFleur connection, but he's not now with Devontae Adams going there. So he's, still a potential, but less likely. And Kyle Williams is definitely my guy right now. I'm drafting a lot of Kyle Williams. I won't on this team because it doesn't make sense, but I'm up to 21% now. That's going to keep going up. I'll be between 20 and 30% of Kyle Williams by the end of this. He's my guy. So that's kind of what I see. Running backs are a little tougher, like Taj Brooks. If he goes to like the Chiefs, which is actually where I thought would be a good team fit, I have that in my spreadsheets. That Taj Brooks to the Chiefs, I think, is a perfect fit. Texas Tech guy, Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech, right? So might make some sense. I think he would fit perfectly in that offense. So if he goes there, he could be that guy. Other than that, I mean, yeah. Is that enough? Is that enough, guys? There you go. Tez toe tap was sweet. Tez Johnson's better than people think, even with the slow 40. I still think he's exactly what you could ask for out of Tank Dell. So some people, dark side dev. Some people like Jimmy Horn Jr. I'm not drafting him personally, but he could be one of those guys. I'm not going to sign off on that, but he could be one of those guys for sure. Do I take Harold Fannin here? There he goes. I guess I might have clicked it, but I'm happy to not, if I'm being honest. I'm going to bring in Noah Fant here because I want him, and that's that. I want him in this build. If Sam Darnold goes to Pittsburgh, I'm happy. If he goes to Seattle, I'm still happy. And regardless, having Kenny Walker and Fant doesn't kill regardless. So like it doesn't kill either of them. So I'm fine with that. So let's go Noah Fant. I think he could be better than he was last year with Clint Kubiak coming in as the offensive coordinator. I still think AJ Barner is going to have some, like, that's a quality, very quality rookie season for a tight end. So I think there's value there, but not necessary. Not necessary. I still think Fant gets more playing time. I think he's on the field more. So Let's do that. And then my final tight end. P.S. I think an okay click at tight end is Jeremy Ruckert. He very right now he's the starting tight end for the Jets. Who's the quarterback? I don't know. If it's Kirk Cousins, I like it if he is the starter, but I'm not going to take all those ifs and chances in this draft. So, but I think Ruckert's an okay click. I've clicked him a couple times. I'm probably the only reason he has an ADP. 1% in this tournament, 2% overall. So I've clicked him a few times, but doesn't make sense here. Not a great spot. Not a great spot at all at tight end here. I probably would have taken Okonkwo. Let's take my guy, Terrence Ferguson, roll the dice on a rookie that I really, really like. Let's take a gamble on Terrence Ferguson there. I was thinking about AJ Barner and kind of guaranteeing myself the Seattle tight end, but I would have done it if I didn't have Kenny Walker. I don't want to double tap Seattle tight ends. Maybe if I had a better tight end than Pitts too, like if I had McBride, if I had Trey McBride, that's not a bad strategy in that sense, like Bowers or McBride, right? And then you bring it back with Fant and AJ Barner. That's not a bad plan, really. But you'd have to have that elite tight end, in my opinion, to pull that off. So I'd rather spread it out. It's really close, though. It's not a bad click. But yeah. Let's take a quick review of the teams. We'll do mine. We'll do Green Bean. We'll do MLB Syndicate, who's Jamie in the chat. And we'll do Justin Herzig because he's a former champ. So you got to take a look at what he's doing. We're 3-6-8-3. I knew we were going to go down that road when you start, with running back, wide receiver, and you don't click tight end or quarterback until 10th, 11th, 12th round. That's how it's going to be. So we went Michael Penix, Anthony Richardson, Sam Darnold. That works for me. It's not ideal. It's a little thin, but it should work. It should get me by most weeks. And then hopefully it's there in the playoffs, but it's going to need Anthony Richardson starting for the Colts to really kind of work out, which I do expect. And I'm drafting like he is and does start. So should work out. Kyron Williams, Kenneth Walker, Trevion Henderson, Tyrone Tracy, Blake Corum, DJ Giddens. I like that. This works for me. Again, I wanted to nail down that Rams backfield. So if I'm taking Kyron Williams, I want Blake Corum every time. So I'm okay with that. That makes sense. I like it. Kenny Walker, Trev Henderson, and then huge value, a full round of value on Tracy. That's the only time I'm clicking him. If he falls there, I'll take him. If not, then, good luck with Tyrone Tracy. DJ Giddens had obviously a fantastic combine. And I liked his tape, but I liked his combine better than what I saw on tape. So he moved up for me after the combine. So I definitely like the DJ Giddens click. So this definitely works for me. Brian Thomas Jr., Drake London, Devontae Smith, Jacoby Myers, Travis Hunter, Marvin Mims, Adonai Mitchell, and Andre Yoshivas. That works. Obviously, you'd probably rather more rookies, I suppose, but 2 rookie running backs and a rookie tight end. Don't need to force it. The clicks made sense. Value on Yoshivas with the T. Higgins situation. I think it's in the 18th round. Give me all the Andre Yoshivas, really. I was going to bring back Geno with Jacoby Myers and bring in Trey Tucker somewhere around here, but it didn't happen, so that's fine. But this works for me. Definitely works for me. Hopefully Mims takes a step forward. Adonai Mitchell needs to take a step forward. Yoshivas needs to take a step forward. So it is reliant on some things, but I think it could work. as long as one of those players, one of these three takes a step forward in their third season, which is not a crazy thing to ask for a wide receiver, then I should be okay. Kyle Pitts, Noah Fant, Terrence Ferguson. I'm obviously banking on Darnold going to Seattle, and if he doesn't, that's fine. I'm not banking on it. It's whether he goes to Seattle or Pittsburgh, it actually doesn't change anything for this team realistically. So I don't mind that. I like Noah Fant and a Kubiak offense. Pitts, I think, stays in Atlanta, so I like that double stack with Drake London. And then Terrence Ferguson needs a good landing spot, obviously, but he's my tight end 4. He was before the combine, had an amazing combine. He's still my tight end 4. But he is creeping, he's creeping up. He could get, my comp, not my comp, but between Colston Loveland and Terrence Ferguson, there's really not a lot of difference in my opinion. I've said that a lot and I still believe that. So, yeah, he could get higher draft capital than Harold Fannin, really. But we'll see. We will see. So that's a squad. Not bad. I don't mind it. It works. It could work. Let's go with MLB Syndicate, which is Jamie in the chat. He goes Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, Justin Fields. Happy with that. Didn't have to bring up Fields either. I like that. Quality room for sure. Very strong. David Montgomery with Goff. Yeah. Najee, Spears, Bashal Tootin, Ollie Gordon, and Braylon Allen. It's a very good room in a vacuum. Like, I'm not sure about Montgomery with Goff, but we'll see what the rest of the squad looks like. Regardless, they score a shitload of touchdowns. It's pretty hard to argue that. And Dave Montgomery is almost a lock for 1,000 total yards and 10 total touchdowns. So regardless, right at ADP, can't get mad at that. Just bank on the offense. So that's a quality room. Nothing wrong with that at all. Najee needs a decent landing spot. If Najee's on the Giants, you're laughing, right? So there you go. CeeDee Lamb, Ladd McConkey, DJ Moore, Jameson Williams, Brandon Ayuk. A lot of value on Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, and De'Ami Brown. A couple wide receivers that are free agents. That's not a bad way to go about it. Wan'Dale Robinson, tons of value. Yeah, that definitely works. Obviously, you got the stack with CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson with Dak Prescott, Jameson Williams, and Laporta with Goff. So that's really nice. Yeah, this will definitely work. Fields just brings it up, rushing upside. So that's awesome. Yeah. I'm not a big De'Ami Brown guy, but this will definitely play. Sam Laporta, Jake Ferguson, Harold Fannin, huge value on Fannin. So that works. Quality team. Wouldn't expect too much different from you. So good looking squad. Double stack both your top quarterbacks. Huge value on a rookie tight end. Yeah, I dig it. Let's go to Green Bean. Josh Allen, CJ Stroud, definitely stop at 2. I like that. That's what you got to do. Well done. Jonathan Taylor, Amarian Hampton, Tony Pollard, Tank Bigsby, Ray Davis, LaQuint Allen, and Jaden Blue. That'll definitely play. I like that. Even the Davis with Allen, yeah, again, you're just banking on the offense. Perfectly fine. Similar thing to what Jamie did there. So that'll play. That'll work. Like the top 2, like Bigsby, like Pollard. These guys can be good. Quality room. I like both of your guys' squads probably more than mine, though this is a little bit thinner, but should work as long as Buffalo is that team. Nico Collins, Zay Flowers, Khalil Shakir, Josh Downs, Keon Coleman, Jalen Royals, Demario Pop Douglas, and Savion Williams. Couple rookies I like. You're banking on Buffalo, which is perfectly fine. Reigning MVP, just signed the biggest deal in history. Nico with Stroud, so I like that. Isaiah Likely, Cole Kmet, and Brenton Strange. Yep, that'll work too. I like 3. That makes sense. 3-7-8-3, 2-7-8-3. Yeah. Quality team. I think my team's closer to this one. I like Jamie's team, but you got Josh Allen. Yeah, I probably like both your teams better than mine, but that's all right. I kind of like mine. Things would have to go right, but we'll see. Let's take a look at Herzig. So 3692, Baker Mayfield, Caleb Williams, and Brock Purdy. That works for me. I think that's too thin to stop at 2. So Brock Purdy works. Wow, huge amount of value on Purdy. So it's pretty hard not to click him there. That'll definitely work. Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving, Rashad White, Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb, Sean Tucker. I like the Sean Tucker click at the end there to pair with the Baker and Bucky. That's quality. It's on the table that Sean Tucker takes over for Rashad White. We'll see. But he has all 3 actually. Geez, all 3 Tampa running backs. He must not have a pass catcher. Nope. That makes sense. Take all the running backs if you can't get the pass catchers. Not a bad plan. You're guaranteeing yourself, and that's a quality running back system. I don't mind that. That's a little different. When you have Saquon too, it opens that door. Like, you couldn't pull this off without like a Saquon Barkley, maybe Bijan Robinson. I guess you could say Jahmyr Gibbs. But yeah, that's the only way that you can kind of pull that off and have it make sense. I would rather less fragility than Austin Eckler and Nick Chubb. Definitely not Nick Chubb, but a little less fragility. You got some value there, but it's Barkley, and then you're getting the Tampa Bay running back. Hopefully these 2 can pop off. I don't think you're going to get much from Chubb, but you never know. So it works because of Barkley. And then obviously Baker as well. So you're guaranteeing yourself the Tampa backfield, which I don't hate. I don't hate that. Roma Dunze, Rashee Rice, Jerry Jeudy, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Cedric Tillman, Alec Ayomanor, Thielen with a huge amount of value. Don't mind that. Nuke Hopkins, that's fine. I think he's fine there. Probably not back with the Chiefs. Rookie, Houston, suspended. 9. Obviously, this is a little thin, but it could absolutely work. Banking on the Cleveland offense, I'm not sure I love without the quarterback, which we don't know, but I guess Cam Ward, you could say. I don't love banking on the Cleveland offense for sure, but Trey McBride, Dalton Kincaid, that's excellent. Stop at 2. That works. It's different. It's definitely different. Like, each position group is kind of its own echo chamber, really, which is odd. It's definitely an odd build, but he's won Best Ball Mania and I have not, so I can't say he's wrong. That's for sure. All right, let's wrap this sucker up. So, let's hear it. There you go. John Bates resigned. Is Sinet dead? Yeah, pretty much. Honestly, like I wouldn't be drafting Ben Sinnott if it were me at all. I haven't and I won't. And JMO, yeah, with your Laporta and David Montgomery. I think I gave you some pretty good praise. Almost took K-Will. Who do you mean by K-Will? Kyron Williams? I guess. Must have been. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it makes more sense to take DJ Moore with the if you're going down the Detroit path. Obviously, stack it up. Yeah, that would have been okay either way. Maybe Kyle Williams. I think he was talking Kyron, maybe. I don't know. One of the two, but that's all fair. Putt Daddy, love the Dallas and Lion stacks. Both should be high scoring teams. Definitely. I've done it a couple times myself too. I like that. You can get them at decent value too, especially the quarterback. So I definitely am down with that as well. But tomorrow, the free agent thing starting tomorrow. So 9 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. where I live in Mountain time. I guess that's 6 p.m. Pacific. We'll have a big free agent frenzy extravaganza, a little bit of a, chat. There'll be some guests popping in and out. Should be fun. Should be a lot of good chatter. There's obviously going to be a crazy amount of movement tomorrow. Some big big dominoes are going to fall. We're going to get almost all of the information that we need, obviously without the draft, but we don't get that information in this tournament. So we're going to get a lot of information tomorrow. So definitely tune in. Hit that like and subscribe button if you don't mind. The chat or the banner below, 449 of 500. If we get to 500 before the NFL draft, 12-hour live stream. So if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button for me. And we'll rip some drafts for 12 hours. Should be good. I'll try to get as many guests as I can if it does happen. So hopefully we get there sooner than later and I can plan ahead. But again, hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Like I always say on Off the Schneid, if you're afraid to be wrong, you'll never be right. Hopefully tonight we were right, or at least one of you. But we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. Peace.